Okay, guys. Well, the patch just dropped, and there's actually a lot of changes. So we're gonna talk about these changes. Patch notes are very, very important. Okay, so we're gonna start now. We're just gonna kick it off. So brought back the hero display on defeat screen. What the hell is the hero display on defeat screen? I mean, it doesn't matter. This is just some cosmetic thing. Rip chainmail. Whoa, spoilers, dude. Wait, is chain? Oh, did they do something about chainmail? Wait, hang on. Calm down, guys. Fixed an issue where if your Aegis triggers, you no longer assign some items. Axe, smash, crash, some kind of crash. These are all kind of bug fix. Scoreboard added back to duos. Okay, very cool. So they must have. That's a big problem in duos that you couldn't really like tab. Duos is a mode where scouting is like the most important out of all the modes. So it's really nice being able to scout early. And that's really, really important because when you, when you're in duos, basically you'll be able to, for the first 10 rounds or so, kind of decide what you're going based on what other people are going. And it's really important to not choose something that's too contested. So scoreboard, really, really important for that. The hero display tells you which things were on your opponent's board. Oh, that. The hero display on defeat. Okay, I'm sure. Increased post-combat time slightly for all players. Okay, so that's a really good one, obviously, for, being able to do a little bit of overflowing and making sure, you're able to buy all the units you want. Makes sense. Fixed the memory leak that caused slowdown when the game was played for many hours. Okay. Added Underlords to the party UI. Makes sense. I was saying they needed that. Not a big thing, but it makes sense. 2 more duo chat lines. Should we level up or should we spend to reroll? I like it. That makes a lot of sense. I didn't actually even see the duo chat options, but if those were missing, that was definitely a big deal. Some assassins not leaping. Freestyle board code format. So, I mean, all of this is just bug fixes. This isn't the juicy stuff. But let's see. Added support for custom jails and party matches. You can set a custom party jail by clicking on your Create Custom Jail context menu and pasting a board code. Any draftable unit in the board or bench on your board code up to 9 will be marked as banned in that custom lobby game. Oh, that's an interesting way of implementing that. So basically allows tournaments to, if they want, tournaments are going to effectively be able to run their own custom jail. So tournaments, if they want specific rules, they can do that, or a tournament can have its own system on how players might choose like bans. It would have to be limited. Like not each player can just have like one unlimited ban. That wouldn't make sense, but something like that could work. Added charts to the rulebook glossary. I'm going to actually check that out real quick. So what kind of charts are we talking about? Like level charts? So XP needed for level, shot odds per player level, item odds for elite rounds. Those are the 3. Well, that's really good. These were kind of like, it was a lot of information that is really useful for players that want to actually kind of do math and play the game in an analytical way. And it's really nice to have these. Okay, let's continue. Gameplay. Increased cost to level up to level 9 and therefore 10 by 10 XP. Alright, huge game changer. That's pretty big. So, I like this change. I think it's very healthy. And new unit odds and shot for players level 3 and 9. New unit odds. It doesn't even say what the odds are. Okay. So let's check this out. So now playing for level 9 is going to cost you 10 more gold. That's a really big deal. That's a very, very big deal. It means like staying at level 8 makes a lot more sense. I really like this. I'm curious if 10 XP will even be enough though. Because the thing is, like, leveling to 9 was kind of good, a little too good even before Underlords came out. And now that like you're getting their additional... Well, it's just like 1 level on them. I mean, I think this could be good. Maybe we can play like the stay at 8 roll builds a lot more. It's not going to be enough, smiley face. I do agree. It's not going to be enough on its own. But it's definitely a big step in the right direction. It's probably the single thing with the game right now. It feels like too many comps. You're a little locked out of playing. 10 XP is 1 round at full interest. Yeah. Okay, new unit odds and shot for player level 3 and 9. That's weird. Why 3? I guess the new odds are going to be here. Player level 3 is 65-35. I think it was 60-40 before, right? So that doesn't change too much. It helps you 2-star things a bit more, which I like. I like that they did that. Cool. And at 9, they hurt epic odds, which does, of course, hurt the level to 9 as well. Because, you know, epic odds, the biggest problem with, like, the level value that we've been at for a while is going to 9 was a little too easy. Tier 4s were a little too powerful, a little too starable. At 25%, the jump between 15 and 25 was huge. This is, like, an absolute meta changer, I think. Now, you might, it's not like these builds are dead. The builds that just, like, go to 9 and push expensive units. These aren't dead per se, but they do feel more balanced. I really like that, if I'm understanding this correctly. I think I'm right. I think they added 5% to tier 1 odds on level 3. That feels a lot better because it did feel like 2-starring units was a harder process than before on most jails. It depends on the day, of course. But I actually like how they added this 5% here. This is like, it's not a huge deal. And it means, like, you know, you're just a little bit more likely to have like 1 2-star on your board, basically. Okay. Back to the notes. So these two lines right here, mostly the unit odds on 9 and the tank speed here. Wait, where did the odds go? Where did the 5% from epics? 5% from epics. I forgot to check that. So they lost 5% in epics. Wait, what was it before? This is just taken out of like tier 2, given to like tier 2 and tier 1. Because this was like 29 before. I think, yeah, it was 29. So they gave it like, they distributed that 5% across like these 3 tiers, basically. Okay, so it doesn't change, like, it doesn't matter like what got them really, but 5% on epic odds or tier 4 odds at level 9 is definitely a big hit. I don't know, 10 gold plus 5%, I think is a pretty big deal. In level 3, there was 5% for tier 3 odds, which was given to tier 1 at level 3. Ah, right. The 5% for tier 3. Yeah, you're right. No, yeah. Okay, I didn't see the tier 3. So that's the change, yeah. Because I remember level 1 was 60. I like this change still to level 3. Finding tier 3s at 3 was kind of pointless. It usually was brickish, or if it was a tree, it was kind of OP. So I like that they did away with that. Okay, so all good so far. These two lines change everything. I mean, at the end of the day, timings are going to be a little bit different. You still want to go to 8 pretty aggressively. I think roll builds might actually want to go to 8 before 21, possibly, depending on the kind of situation they're in. They could still go to 8 on like 17, 18, but at the end of the day, like, it feels a lot more doable to play different things. I'm really going to enjoy this. Tomorrow, I'm going to experiment with a lot of different ways to play around with this change and maybe try out some new stuff. Okay. Ennessex. Passive hype generation is up a bit. I really like that. She's going to get nerfed in some other ways, I'm sure. But from a design concept, she was a little too reliant on demons. I don't really like how demons were giving her such a high ratio. It feels like they're kind of merging the concept of Ennessex with the concept of humans. So, like, okay, from a design standpoint, let's look at what this number does, right? So it was 1.5 base with 0.72 with additional demon. And what that means is it's a 50% ratio per demon to the base. And the problem with that is it means demons and Ennessex are fundamentally going to be intertwined, basically. Such that, like, demons can never really be good without Ennessex. Otherwise, they would be too good with Ennessex. And that's like, I don't know if I necessarily like that, right? It just kind of like means you can't really be playing demons if you're not in Ennessex. It's a little weird, making her a little bit less dependent on demons, and in turn making demons a little bit less dependent on her is something I like. Marta's Boon goes down to 5 seconds, a big change. So we can talk about that. Marta's Boon was pretty much why everyone was picking Ennessex. I'm going to talk like line by line. So that's the big heal. You still get the same insta heal apparently, but the big like regen is down. So at a high level, you know, let's talk about like level 8. It's 40 per second, so it's lowered by a total 120 health across the entire team. That's a lot. I mean, that's a really big deal. And of course, any buff that you have, any trait that you've selected that is going to like scale off of boon duration is going to be a little bit worse. Let's see how they compensate for that later. Like Arcane Ritual is a little bit worse. Confidence Boost is a bit worse while affected by Marta's Boon. Like these all might not have been rebalanced to compensate. This is like almost half duration. Okay. Pure Pain duration goes up. I like that. It felt a little weak, and certain things that like scaled with Pure Pain, it felt just like better to take the kind of boon buffing stuff than the Pure Pain stuff. And I like that they're also incentivizing like giving you faster hype generation, perhaps. Chaotic Hunter, number of extra shots down from 3 to 1. So I assume this is like, I mean, this is weird. So Chaotic Hunter was never giving 3 extra shots. It was a like a tooltip error. It was giving 3 shots. It was giving 2 extra shots, and they just like, I guess they fixed the tooltip and they reduced 1 shot at the same time. 1 extra attacks. Well, I'm not gonna bully Valve over this S, but like, it's sorry. I mean, I have to laugh at least. Yeah. So they lowered this to 1 extra attack. It was 2. It wasn't doing 175% DPS. It was only doing 50% extra DPS. Now it's down to 25. And now I like this change. It makes you maybe more open to picking these others. To be perfectly honest, this is not a gigantic nerf. This is going to look like an insane nerf to a lot of people. Like, it goes to 3 to 1. Again, it's 2 to 1. But Chaotic Hunter was kind of a snap decision in the first place. And, you know, some of these are maybe, you know, not necessarily what you want to take either. Like, Chaotic Hunter is still kind of the general purpose one, whereas all 3 of the other ones require specific circumstances. So I think this is a good nerf. I think people will take a bit less Chaotic Hunters, but it still won't be unplayable. Let's continue. Sorry, we're going like 1 line at a time. The End of Medicine, attack damage bonus is up 30%. That's interesting. Obviously the duration is down 3 seconds, so I guess I should hope it's up a bit more. It only lasts like 5 seconds at a time now. But I mean, it's overriding the heal, like the cost of like buying it is also lower, so I don't know if 30% attack damage is going to be worth that bit of healing. It's still a lot of healing all at once. So, I mean, you don't have the instant heal when you take End of Medicine, yeah? So, it still feels a little hard to take. It's getting there. It is getting there. Fix the Demon's Revenge, not doing damage to the killer, so it must have been a bug with round 30 talent. Fixed Phantom Pain not interacting correctly with Sympathy Pains. Now as long as one of the 2 targets affected by Pure Pain is alive, Phantom Pain is active. Okay, so Phantom Pain and Sympathy Pains does actually have good synergy now. Because if one of them dies, Sympathy Pains gives you 2 pains, and Phantom Pain gives you armor while something has pain. There was a bug, and I wasn't taking these because of it. I never took Sympathy Pains. And maybe I'll think about trying that now. But Pure Pain targeting is still a little awkward. But yeah, I mean, they do actually have synergy now, a little bit. Especially now that Pure Pain's debuff duration is up to 7 seconds. That's pretty solid. I mean, to be honest, like, being able to generate hype a little bit quickly. The 7 seconds of, like, this 18 armor from Phantom Armor is a really big deal. Or, sorry, Phantom Pain. Now that it's up to 7 seconds, maybe it's a little bit more reliable. I could see people trying to pick Sympathy Pains to make it a bit better. I could actually see, like, the concept of hype generating early matters more because of this. Because Pure Pain, of course, is her, it costs, what, 50 hype? It's her, like, second tier thing. You need to get, yeah, 50. It's 20, 50, 100. And it felt a little weak. It had, like, kind of bad targeting. It didn't have, like, great supporting things. And bumping it to 7, fixing this bug really helps. And Instant Regret no longer affects Underlords. Instant Regret is the thing that breaks when you kill, I believe. I guess it was breaking Underlords. Or... Yeah, friendly units affected by boon break the killer for this fight. Okay, so let's talk about the rest of the Ennessex changes. We can't compare her to Hobgen yet. So yeah, basically anything that works with like Marta's boon just kind of gets worse, right? Like Arcane Ritual is less good, End of Medicine is less good, and Chaotic Hunter is less good. So the round 10 talent is like, suddenly Brill Bruiser. Brill Bruiser is chilling over here, and he's begging to be picked. I want to experiment with Brill Bruiser, I do. It's a little hard, it really is. You have to position in a very specific way. Maybe start taking like some stuff like weird stuff like Barricade to even like enable some weird stuff. Build Bruiser does, in theory, synergize with, like, there's supposed to be a tree of Ennessex, which is like the demon buffing tree, where you take, like, you know, despite all my rage. The break isn't really like scaling with anything, so that's not really part of the tree. But then you take Demon's Revenge, and then you kind of like frontline your Ennessex, not frontline her, but maybe position her aggressively. She spawns the demon forward, and then you're like, you're making it stronger every time it dies with despite all my range. And you could look at that build and you could want to pick Build Bruiser in that build, because of course if you're positioning your demon to die, to tank and die, then Build Bruiser is good for that. But then the problem with that is, like, when it buffs, sometimes, like, it buffs its, like, attack with despite all my rage, but then it kills what it's next to, and then it can't move properly. So at the end of the day, I don't even know if Build Bruiser is really good in that sort of build. So I think I will start trying it out a bit more. I think it's funny. I think there could be a lot there. But yeah, there's at least, like, these feel kind of more on the same level. Chaotic Hunter doesn't feel like such a snap pick. For sure. I really like that. Okay. I still think, like, something like Arcane Ritual is still a little weak. It's like, usually you need mana for, like, your first cast, and not additional casts don't really do as much beyond the first cast, because usually you're at full mana by the time your cooldown's off anyway. And like, Marty's Boon charges a bit too slow, so it's like a lot of your units have already casted their spells by the time you get Marty's Boon, even if you have, like, maybe a couple demons with mages. But they did increase their base hype generation, so it does make, like, stuff that needs to happen earlier in a fight a lot more pickable. I really like that, because there's so many of her talents felt really bad to choose, just because they couldn't really happen early enough. Like, I was avoiding a lot of, like, pure pain talents just because, like, and that's kind of why you have to pick confidence boost. If you know, if I'm talking about how it was in the last, like, week, like, part of the reason you take confidence boost, despite all my rage is good, but part of the reason, like, confidence boost is a Martyr's Boon buff, but it really isn't. It's more of a pure pain buff when you think about it, because, like, it doesn't really, it just allows you to get to pure pain sooner, right? And when you think about it, it's like, do I want to do a bit more damage, or do I want to get it out sooner? Usually, like, it's happening just too late in fights to make a difference anyway, so you'd rather just have it sooner, plus, like, you know, the golem or whatever else you're running. So at the end of the day, it does look like, you know, 10 is a bit up in the air. I still like going kind of like demon enabling builds, and I'm pretty hesitant to pick Arcane Ritual or End of Medicine. Pure Pain is still something you don't necessarily want to, I guess, build entirely around. I still don't really like Pure Pain or Sharp Pain. Or, sorry, Sharp Pain. I think on 15, I still do like Despite All My Rage or Confidence Boost. On 20, they haven't really changed this. Demonic Golem still should win. And then the question is, you know, 25 and 30. Exploit Weakness and Phantom Pain are both very pickable. Regret's good with Spiders. And 30, Sympathy Pains is kind of cute. You could pick it if you're already in Phantom Pains, maybe. But for the most part, I think I like Demon's Revenge. And then Crash. Okay, so that's the Ennessex part. Let's go to Hobgen before we get into the hero changes. Okay, Hobgen. Attack rate changed from 1.769 to 0.588. So is that attacks per second or seconds per attack? Because they've displayed both in different ways. Like, they've done both in patch notes before. It's been a little inconsistent. I think that's attacks per second, right? So he's attacking slower. He's attacking significantly slower. 0.58 or 0.59 is like the same attack speed that, like, some of the slow attackers like Tiny have. But of course he's doing more damage. He's doing 12 more damage on both the minimum and the maximum. They're just like 12 down to 6. So he starts at more. So it's kind of like he's doing an extra like 9 damage. He starts out a bit more. He's higher DPS early. I think they made him more of a DPSer. I mean, we can do some like kind of simple math. It depends. Like, let's take like a very average level. Let's take like level 7 for example. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 at 108 and 7 at 114 means you're dealing, you know, the minimum and maximum was 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 126. 132. 11 goes to... That's maximum. No, wait, that's not right. It's not 126. It's 126 and 120. So yeah, he's dealing 12 more damage at pretty much all levels. Okay. That's pretty interesting until you get to the end. So that's pretty significant. It means he kind of scales a bit worse because his attack damage goes up per level, right? So you're like less incentivized to level him. But if we're just taking like the actual damage, so he's doing like 12 more damage at level 7. It's 111 to 123. 111 to 123 with 0.59 attack speed per second. So it'll be 0.59. So how it is before, 0.59 by 123 is 72.5 DPS, and 0.77 by 11 is 85. Okay, so it looks like he's doing a bit less DPS, except maybe at like very early levels. So they want to make him a little bit less of a DPSer. I'm sure they're buffing him in some other ways, but the attack speed reduction is definitely hurting him. Now, of course, that's just raw math. He does gain some bonus attack speed from something like Hot Rod. It does mean attack speed modifiers are better. This makes his attack speed talent worth more. Yes, exactly. That's important to understand. So when you actually do the math on like the plus attack speed, I'm sure at higher amounts of attack speed, I'm sure if you have Hot Rod and the Supercharge Ultimate, he'll probably be at more DPS than it was before. But either way, it's more important for sure. Hype generation per burning unit got scaled up. Okay, so he's more dependent on setting fire to things. Makes sense. Supercharged cast time decreased by 25%. His cast times, for those of you guys who don't know, were kind of like the biggest problem with Hobgen. Oops, I'll change this. A lot of reason people weren't picking him were like his animations for the cast were really, really bad. So Supercharged, he was casting a lot at 40 hype. And now suddenly you can maybe use this. Okay. So his attack speed talent was already the best, wasn't it? Yeah, it was pretty much what you were picking before. Okay. He did a whole dance before casting. Yeah, exactly. So cast time decreased by 25%, pretty big. Invulnerable and untargetable while casting Let's Go Crazy. I mean, that's not really a huge thing. I mean, the thing is, and that makes sense because he like climbs into the crate or whatever, but it's still a really long animation with Let's Go Crazy. And Let's Go Crazy is an ability that kind of needs to, the whole point is to get it online early. It's like a 5-second channel. It's really, really long. He kind of like stuns himself. So he's at least invulnerable and untargetable, but at the same time, the rest of your team might be just kind of dying during that time. We'll fix Let's Go Crazy not applying all supercharged upgrades to Hobgen. Not applying all supercharged upgrades. Oh, it wasn't? Oh, yeah, that was a pretty big bug. So the supercharged upgrades would have been... I don't even know Hobgen's talents that well. Stuff like this. Damage reduction, chance of stunning targets that are on fire. Kaboom. Yeah. At the same time, neither of these were kind of the biggest problems with LGC. Feedback loop got changed. Before supercharged units gain mana. Makes sense. It was kind of like a weird thing. And after supercharged units, cast speed goes up. So this was kind of a funny concept to think about, feedback loop before. I mean, people were doing it on Tinker for a funny meme. But it really was kind of awful. Like, feedback loop kind of made no sense as a concept. Now, supercharged units cast speed goes up a bit. I mean, it's kind of interesting. So cast speed is going to be important for a lot of the long animation stuff. So when you take feedback loop, let's look at the timing. So you take feedback loop at 25. Maybe you can get out of molten armor now because that was kind of core before. Take feedback loop at 25. And once you're at 25, supercharged unit's cast speed is increased by 30%. That's interesting. So totally normal cat saying feedback loop fixes LGC problem. So LGC is able to pick up the speed of feedback loop even at the start of its cast. That seems a little strange. Like he gains it at the start and then it's instead of gaining it at the end. That makes sense. It's like it's kind of counterintuitive how that order of operations would work, but it does make sense that it kind of synergizes with him. And it means LGC makes a lot more sense because when Hobgen's cast speed goes up, that's really important. His animations are really long. When you put that in mages, I mean, suddenly something like Coddle, presumably the channel time would be increased. Now, depending on how it works from Dota, cast animations and channel time are a different concept in Dota. I assume this would speed up the Coddle animation. We can go into a test lobby now, but Totally Normal Cat should be able to confirm for us anyway. So we can go, let me just test this out real quick. Hobgen, so we want to sell Ennessex. Keeper of the Light. So, and this is like a really, really, really big change for, you know, potentially. So we just like, you know, just install this stuff. Keeper of the Light, 3-star, why not? So Hobgen should be using feedback loop. This ability went from pretty shit to actually like maybe the reason you pick Hobgen all of a sudden, which is pretty interesting. Because, you know, all of his animations are shorter, all of everyone's animations are shorter. And now suddenly Friendly Fire is probably not the pick anymore, would be my guess, but we'll see. Okay, so we will check out... am I missing anything? I need the actual ultimate itself. Proceed to combat and see what happens. This combat might actually resolve a little too quickly. Coddle's ability is based on channel time. That's how it would work by Dota rules. We'll see. So we can count there. It's the full channel time. Okay, let's create a tankier situation. Let's make this front line wide, boys. Let's slow this fight down. But yeah, we'll test this, and there's the other thing we have to test, which is how much damage it does, because there's a third outcome. Which is interesting, which is that it actually casts faster, but it will do less damage. I guess that Pudge will hook him. Wait a second. Oh yeah, I forgot about that Pudge. $10k HP target buddy. Yeah, target dummy is Is it just the third one? Wait, they're all the same. Oh, wait. The middle one is 100,000. Okay. What the hell? Hang on. This is I didn't realize there was the middle one just had like 100,000. It's the middle one, right? Yeah, what the hell? Okay, this is useful for testing stuff. I'm glad that they put 100k HP target buddies everywhere. So this should already be enough stall, right? Nothing should ever just like kill anything. Now that I'm out of Pudges, I can get these out. Okay. I'm sure there was a slightly faster way to test this, but this is fine. Okay, so here's Connell's normal channel time. It's really long. What is this? It's like 5 seconds? 4 seconds? It's very long. Hobgen's actually... What is Hobgen dying to? There's no, like... There's no way of actually counting that. I mean, he's channeling it faster. It's a lot faster. It's like 3 seconds instead of 5, yeah. The question is it doing less damage because of it? Because it is possible it is. It's unlikely. I think that would be weird. But in Dota, channel spells like Illuminate and Power Shoot do have damage proportional to the actual damage time. It's a little awkward to test though. Like how would you actually test the specific amount of damage? I would guess it does. I mean, it does. I think it's safe to say if it does less damage, it's a bug. I'm pretty sure it's not supposed to do less damage. So it should do the same amount of damage. Hobgen seemed to get LGC pretty fast too. Yeah. No, I mean the feedback loop and LGC changes actually change Hobgen quite a bit. He now actually has kind of a place as a unit. He does feel very much like the mage unit. Like all of a sudden with LGC being what it is and him doing a lot of magic damage, like LGC plus Coddle actually seems pretty good. It literally says the words per second channeled. Yes, of course, obviously, but I mean, it's not necessarily gonna mean that in a literal sense. Remove everything from the board, but target dummies you can count before and after on enemy HP. The target dummies, okay. Yeah, man, I have to take every single thing off the board, right? Because I do need to test this. It's really important. Whether it's just faster or better. So just like this, right? That's pretty much fine. Sell Ennessex. Yeah, I can sell this Ennessex too. I mean, will it not like... I guess it'll just fight, even if there's no fight resolved. So what we can look at is these other buddies that have 100,000 HP. So we get the first channel of the blast. We're going to use these as the test. 99241. Okay, 241. So it's 759 damage. And then this one... Is there pause?
Time to get my hands dirty.
Wait a second. 98. I wish that. Oh, did they add it so that you can like slow this down yet? 7. So it's the same damage. Yeah, it's the same exact damage. Okay, so yeah, suddenly, Coddle plus this feels pretty good. I mean, Coddle's gonna be casting like twice a fight at least, 3 times a fight in a lot of situations. May just have kind of long animations. So suddenly, Hobgen kind of feels like he has a place. A lot of people were running him in mages before. That was kind of like where you had to run him 3 times easy. Yeah, 3 times easy, sure. I mean, I say 2 sometimes because sometimes the fight's over when you use it twice. Yeah. So it's a pretty big deal. Does it stack with Octarine? What the cast time? Yeah, I mean you can use Octarine with something like that too. So that is pretty big. That's pretty big. Is there anything else that has really long animations that you can maybe speed up? I think Coddle animation is basically the big one, right? It's like obviously Power Shot has an animation, but I don't think there's really anything you can do with that. But I think the days of Molten Armor into Silence might be awkward. That being said, Hobgen has existed for the past week as basically, you know, you just try to stay alive until you get Molten Armor plus keep it secret. And then, you know, once you have it, that's kind of like when your board comes online. Like Molten Armor plus keep it secret is like, you know, you tank Hobgen, set it, silence everything. And that's kind of how mages are able to win boards. The problem is you have to take feedback loop over Molten Armor. So like, I don't know, if you're already on round 25, if this was like an earlier pick, but like if you're already on round 25, it's still an expensive pick to take feedback loop, right? Because like if you're on 25, maybe like you're like, oh, okay, I can survive till 30, and then I can get my loop plus or my armor plus keep it secret, and mages might even want that instead, right? So it's hard to say. I don't know. I mean, molten armor plus keep it secret might just be too strong. Like feedback loop would be a lot better if it was like, you know, something you could pick earlier over something less committal. But right now, like armor plus keep it secret are two of the reasons to pick Hobgen, like that combo at the end. And you'll often be dying before you hit that combo, but it's pretty powerful. If you're on 25, Molten's ability to turn the fight is less than a ton of Kotal ownage. Yes, exactly. For sure. I think that's true. I'm not a mage expert, but that's what I would think. But then, you know, if you're in a good position on 25 and you can make it until 30, maybe armor's still just better. Have to test if feedback loop applies on LGC casts. Oh, normal cat was confirming it does. Mages don't even want LGC though. Yeah, exactly. Mages are often not going to be an LGC, so it gives them a few options, and there's like Shadow Fiend has long animation as well, but it's not nearly as long. I wasn't confirming. Oh, I thought Totally Normal Cat was confirming that. Okay, let's test it.
First we make the money, then we make the monies. I've come prepared.
Okay, so let's look at. Let's go ahead and reset talents. So no feedback loop. Let's go crazy without feedback loop. Let's look at the time. Because it would be kind of weird if it applied to its own animation. So we're just going to, when he casts his ultimate, we're just going to watch this long-ass animation. Let's check this out. Need supercharge? Yeah, we need supercharge too. So here's his animation. Watch this.
Well, you want something done right.
And that was a lot faster, right? He doesn't have anything.
Show 'em what you got.
Did I miss something? The animation seems faster than it was before. And I don't have feedback loop. Was there a patch note? Did I miss a patch note that increased LGC animation? That seems faster, smiley face. I didn't, either there was a bug in the test lobby or they increased LGC animation without saying anything in the patch notes, because that's not here. Because I didn't level feedback loop there. That's weird. Huh. So I guess I mean we don't have like confirmation on that, but LGC is a lot faster. Hobgen needs all the buffs, yeah. Same cast animation as Supercharged, is just on himself. I mean, it was longer before, right? LGC applies to the ones you didn't pick and the ones you didn't. It's the same cast time. Oh, I see what you're saying. That this is the note that. Oh, I see. So it's counting that as decreased by 25%. Yeah. That's. I mean, I guess that would have to be the case. That's a good guess. But yeah, that was a lot faster than normal. And I guess then.
Let's have some fun.
So it's already faster. I guess we can test how it is once we actually get the supercharged, right? I guess we can level it now, right? Feedback loop. Okay, let's test this. LGC is just a self-supercharge, yeah. It would be a little weird if it applied to its own, like, wind-up cast. It's gonna be a little hard to eyeball this.
Take 'em out. Time to get my hand.
That seemed even faster. Am I imagining that? I don't think I am. That was faster. It's fast. Look at that. Seems actually usable now. Yeah, it's quite interesting. Let's finish the Hobgen notes before we talk about like where we might build him. I haven't played a lot of Hobgen, so but certainly Normal Cat has. He's a very good player. Hobgara is in, baby. He does seem usable. His auto attack slowdown seems pretty noticeable too. His like, you mean his like attack rate changed? Yeah, yeah, for sure. Okay. So Greasefire, hype granted per unit hit by Explosivo is up from 1 to 3. I don't even know which ability Greasefire is. Greasefire. So yeah, I mean, it was pretty weak. Suddenly, I don't know. I mean, it feels like you could maybe pick it. However, having higher damage and lower attack speed, Hot Rod might still be a little necessary. I don't know if you can take this. And even like, Implosion's kind of okay, right? So yeah, Greasefire, it feels like it could be a little bit pickable. You know, it's going to be good for a build that kind of maybe builds around something like LGC, because the hype, you know, when you're using Explosivo, the hype is basically getting you to supercharge an LGC faster. I guess I could see it though. I mean, if the thing is, if you're trying to support LGC, you're probably better off picking Hot Rod, right? 3 hype per unit hit in the blast. So on average, it's probably going to generate like 10, 15 hype, I'm thinking. 10 might be a closer estimate, yeah. So it's not, you know, it's going to be all right, 10 to 12. I like 10 to 12 as an estimate. I just like, I don't know if that can be worth more than Hot Rod's like 70 attack speed. Because even if you're looking to support LGC, like when you do supercharge yourself and when you start switching targets and setting things on fire, more things on fire, you are going to really want that attack speed. Because the attack speed is more valuable in that case, right? And, you know, you're also fighting for the slot on Implosion, so I don't feel like you can really still choose Greasefire. It still feels a little too weak. Okay. Got a Light is now Burnout. Before enemies attacked by supercharged units are set on fire for 3 seconds. Now, supercharged units have a 17% chance of stunning targets that are on fire for 1.25 seconds. Huh. Okay. 17% chance of stun. He's going to create a lot of Spirit Breaker memes. So, got a Light. Yeah, it's just like that. That's the one that was increasing the duration of fire, right? Yeah. And this is the one on 10, yeah. So if you're building a supercharged build, if we're doing a supercharged build, would we take Burnout? I mean, it's kind of only good if you're doing LGC, right? I mean, when you supercharge a unit, I think you have to take LGC to probably warrant this. I mean, your normal supercharge is fine. It's basically, it sets things on fire. Let's give me a second. So supercharged can only stun units that are on fire. So like, for the normal supercharge, you're using it on, like, let's say your carry, and it's going to be attacking whatever it's attacking. But it doesn't set stuff on fire, because it's just having higher attack speed. And it might be attacking what Hobgen's attacking, or it might be attacking what's already on fire. But it's not going to be a ton. So I'm not sure if this is worth taking, unless you are committing to LGC, because when he's LGC, then suddenly he's also supercharged, and then whatever he's attacking is, like, you know, on fire. The question is, does the flyer apply before the stun? It's a little annoying to test. So the question is, when Hobgen supercharges with LGC and the burnout, can he stun things that aren't on fire by applying to fire and then proccing this 17%? Should be fairly simple to test. We should be able to see a pretty easy, like, stun animation there. So let's just get our target buddy on. One. Why is it the middle one and the other two are all 1,000? It's kind of weird. I'm going to need a lot of buddies for this. because he's going to be switching targets like every attack. So we want... So we have feedback loop. We have let's go crazy. We've got burn out. And do we need anything else? I don't think so. Okay. So we're going to have to watch like any stun animations we see. And he'll switch targets. He won't attack anything that's on fire once he's in LGC, right? Which means if he ever gets a stun when he's in LGC, we know it works. Are these even stunnable units? They should be stunnable. There should be that stun animation, I would think. So he used let's go crazy. He got a stun, right? I'm not imagining that. Let's keep watching. That unit just got stunned. And it wasn't on fire. Because he can't attack him when he's on fire, yeah. Huh. So he can stun units that aren't on fire. Yep. That's pretty interesting. That's really big. It's really important that he can do that. His attack speed sucks now. Yeah, you kind of need a Hot Rod. Hot Rod feels more important than ever. It feels like Grease Fire just can't be taken. You gotta go Hot Rod. So this is like one of the talent paths where you're on like Burnout into Hot Rod into LGC. That could work. He can also just silence them while they're on fire too. Yeah, I mean that is true. That is true. But yeah, I mean I think there's definitely potential here. I mean people will at least experiment with that, because he'll light them on fire before the stun checks, before the damage happens, and then the stun will check. So it actually makes a lot of sense. I can tell you right now, if it worked the other way, if the priorities worked the other way, this would be terrible, because LGC would always make him attack something that wasn't on fire, and he wouldn't be able to stun it because it wasn't on fire. Okay, so I mean there's a lot of potential here. Burnout into Hot Rod into LGC. That comes online quite early, actually, because all you need is like level 20. Suddenly, you know, if you can force like a bit of a longer fight, you're gonna get a lot of stuns out of Hobgen. You know, your Hot Rod's gonna be giving you like 60 attack speed or something ridiculous like that. Man, what a crazy passive. Yeah, LGC on level 20 and Supercharge on level 20 has more attack speed. Yeah. He could have had more attack speed. Okay, so yeah, I mean that line feels a bit pickable, and I guess that's all the Hobgen changes. So I'm no Hobgen expert. I think so. Before, people were basically picking him for, you know, friendly fire in mages into like molten armor and keep it secret. Now you can do feedback loop. If you're thinking like maybe you can't last until 30, I guess this could be better than molten armor. I'm not sure. But for the most part, I'm still not 100% sure about feedback loop. It feels like it gives him it helps his cast speeds. That's really nice. I like that. You know, it can combo with mages with Coddle. That's definitely cute. But at that point, maybe Molten plus Keep It Secret can still be better. What I do like is this early burnout into LGC. If you're going LGC, which, you know, we're not necessarily sure if LGC is worth it yet. You know, that's going to take some testing, but it at least gives him a bit more support. It gives him a bit more reason to go for, you know, LGC over friendly fire, because this talent was getting pretty like underpicked. It was pretty underwhelming. Okay, so hero changes. These are going to be big, and that's basically it. So Chrono Cube, its cooldown got gutted to a once per fight. So Chrono Cube no longer is double castable. It was nuts with Octarine. It was nuts when you got him to level 2. At 12 seconds, it was an easy twice per fight. With Octarine at level 1, you know, with bracers, it was pretty solid. And now, suddenly, he will actually overlap it. It's at 60 second, or sorry. Sorry, I said a sentence that was like 2 sentences away from where I was in my talking words. But basically, when you use refresher on him, you know, now that it's a 60-second cooldown, you can refresh that, but it's not, you're usually overlapping it, right? Because he'll cast it too fast on the same target he's attacking. Which means that Faceless Void might be the first unit in the game where Bracers is significantly better than Refresher. Which is very interesting, because Bracers is still good here. He's still going to, like, Chrono. Sometimes he takes a bit of damage during Chrono and reapplies with Bracers, but usually when Chrono ends, his Bracers will pop and he'll Chrono again. So Void is definitely more Bracers dependent. I do like how Bracers, you know, feels a bit more pickable now. And I like that there's a hero that it's better than Refresher on. Because before, like, it felt like kind of budget Refresher in almost every situation. Like, even when Bracers is solid, it's like, you could just have a Refresher. And Legion Commander gets an attack rate bonus at the same time. Well, I should actually talk about Void implications. So I think Void is going to be, like, it's harder to just automatically splash in good stuff, I think. Because it was kind of, like, important to get that twice a fight, especially with either Octarine or even leveling up. I mean, even without leveling, 15 seconds, like, that happens twice a fight sometimes. And when it's level 2, it's survivable every 12 seconds. Like, that will happen twice a fight, like, basically at least. 60 seconds is big, so it means he's kind of more so, like, you kind of can't just automatically splash him. You can run him in certain good stuff, like game boards, if you have, you know, Bracers, or maybe if you're getting a lot of it. You can transition into Primordials. He's still good in Primordials. He's still good in Assassins. And you can still resurrect him with Io to reset the Q, although that's... Yeah, I mean, he fairly often is the unit that dies first, and that's going to be happening a lot in, like, Primordials if he's level 1. So, it's not like he's bad, but I think this is a pretty fair nerf. It makes him, like, a little abusable, while still being quite pickable in kind of the 3 things you want to have the option for him in, which are Primordials, Assassin, and good stuff. And I guess Mages, of course. Like, Mages will still be able to use him. Legion Commander gets an attack rate boost. This unit needed a lot more than this. Baby steps, baby steps. Huh. I mean, listen, obviously, you know, she stacks plus damage, so it is important. It is important to get some extra attack speed with that damage. It's attacks per second. Yeah, this is attacks per second. So instead of 2 attacks every 3 seconds, it is now 4 attacks every 5 seconds. So what's the common denominator? 3 and 5, so 15 seconds. So instead of being, what is that? 9? No, wait. Instead of being 10 attacks every 15 seconds, it's now 12 attacks every 15 seconds. So it's a 20% DPS increase. There was an easier way to get to that. But yeah, it's a 20% DPS increase. It's a big deal. It's, you could say it's a free gloves, but it's kind of better than a free gloves. I mean, on a hero that look, listen. If they took a hero that was good and they gave it this like 20% increase, I would be like, fool, that's so crazy. That's nuts. That's, what were they thinking? But like, Legion, I do like that they're buffing her. It's important that they're buffing her. I think she has a bit more problems going on, like maybe like one more of these kinds of buffs. And don't get me wrong, I don't think this hero needs to be good to be fun. And this is a hero that's kind of designed to be fun, create like creative solutions to, you know, like do interesting things with the board. I mean, I do want to be around with Legion. Like if I get, you know, early Legions, I want to be able to build around it and have fun and not just auto lose and maybe sometimes win. She is still a far cry from being good, for sure. I could see like one more buff like around this level, and she wouldn't even be like good if that happened, but she would feel like you can build for her in specific circumstances. But you can't get early Aspa Legion now. Well, you can't get on a like you mean like the level 3 creep round. Yeah. Dual timing, yeah, dual is kind of an awkward skill, and her champion tag is very cool. I really love the concept of it, but it's not really meant to be super great. Okay, get to item changes. Chainmail, bonus armor 10 to 7, This got spoiled for me. So this is a really big one. Chainmail was kind of meta warping as much as a tier 1 item can be. That's going to disrupt all the rankings. That's pretty crazy. So, I mean, positive armor scales like almost linearly for the most part. Chainmail's made balanced, I say. Chainmail over glove still? Yeah, I think chainmail over glove still. By a bit. And that's just how busted chainmail was, yes. I think maybe if it was like 6 armor, it would be the same as gloves. It depends on the kind of comps we decide are good. They're close. They are close. But I do think chainmail is probably still a bit better than gloves. Again, that's how good it was before. This item isn't like destroyed. It's still a snap pick in most like, you know, early item sets, but like this item was crazy. Like sometimes you have like an early game board that like feels so good, but you don't have a chainmail, so you still lose to some stuff. Not a second mail though. Yeah, not second mail for sure. Second mail is definitely behind gloves now. So yeah, pretty big, pretty large. Helm now better than chainmail? Probably. I think that the effect is probably worth more than the 2 armor at that point. Yeah, Helm is again better than chainmail, which people agree it hasn't been for the past week or so, I think. So we can look at like tier 1s after this. Octarine Essence, cooldown reduction changed from 50% to 30%. Huge nerf to Octarine. Makes sense because Octarine kind of caters to longer fights. It was a pretty overpowered item, I suppose. I mean, it wasn't necessarily... You could argue it was the strongest tier 3. You could argue that. I mean, there's like 4 tier 3s that are all vying for strongest slot. And now tier 3s are kind of more top-ended than ever. So you really need to hit one of the good tier 3s. And it's a big nerf. I mean, we can look at... Let's actually look at, you know, 50 to 30%. Let's look at, like, you know, what you actually want to be using Octarine on. What's generally like the best Octarine carrier? Let's say Bristle. So what was once a 1.5 second cooldown is now going to be effectively 2 second cooldown, roughly. It's not a bad item. It's still quite pickable. It's still ahead of a lot of the tier 3s, because a lot of the tier 3s are pretty bad. But Bristle, you know, Bristle Octarine is still pretty good. Obviously, you can't really Octarine Void anymore. It's a little limited. I don't know. Octarine was a good item. I don't know if it necessarily needed this nerf, because it is like, it's not bad. You can still take it. But it was never... I don't think it was like hyper overpowered. It was very good, but I don't know. It's balanced now. Yeah, but balanced usually doesn't cut it, right? Like if it's balanced, it has like a 20% pick rate based on how the item systems work. It's a big nerf, but some units don't gain the mana fast enough anyway. Yeah, you could really only use it on like a handful of units, and it was usually a trade-off. Like especially if you find Octarine early, it's a trade-off of like. It's not great early, you know, it does nerf like Treant, I guess. Treant is a little item dependent as a unit. Like, he really, really loved slapping an early chainmail on this bad boy. Because that's just how this unit ends up nuts. And there's a lot of situations where you take Octarine on 15 and you just slap it on your fucking Treant boy. Pretty crazy. I mean, Necro's not even, like, amazing right now. So, I'm not sure... how much Octarine impacts him. Yeah, there's not a lot of heroes that really can run Octarine to great effect right now, honestly. Not a ton. So it's still a bit pickable. SK Octarine is good. Yeah, SK Octarine is good if you're in Ennessex. You've got Bristleback Octarine, as always. On Kunkka, sure. I mean, it was pretty good on Kunkka as well, and it still is solid on Kunkka. Like, there's nothing wrong with it on Kunkka. Witch Doctor, yeah, it's been a bit weaker on Witch Doctor since he has the 15-second cooldown instead of the 10. But I mean, there's a lot of heroes you can put it on, but it's definitely not super good anymore. I mean, this is a big deal. This really hurt it, for sure. Still insane on Bristleback though. I would probably say so. I don't know. I mean, I'm thinking about it. Like, Bristle might be the only hero left that I would go out of my way to pick Octarine for. Like, and I'll still take it if there's weak tier 3s. Like, Octarine's still alright. But, like, before, Octarine was in a position where, like, with certain heroes, like, depending on your board, like, you can take Octarine ahead of, like, Skull Basher or Maelstrom situationally. It feels really hard to do that now. Except for maybe Bristleback. Possibly. Small reduction in cooldown over 20 seconds plus fight is a huge damage difference. Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. But, I mean, this 20% really hurt it. Target but A tier changed from 2 to 3. So this is an interesting change. So Target Buddy was pretty powerful. It was kind of one of the deciders of like when you could play for streaks early. It was overpowered. I don't really mind that. It's been like a pretty common suggestion that Target Buddy and Healing Ward should have had their tiers swapped because Healing Ward kind of feels like a tier 2 item. And Target Buddy feels like a tier 3 item. It's a nerf to both tier 2 and tier 3. See, that's kind of... You're saying specifically Target Buddy. That's kind of what I'm thinking. It's very, very interesting. Because, yes, it is a nerf to both of these tiers. Like, it increases, you know, your odds of finding any given tier 2 item. And it means when you're looking at a tier 3 item, suddenly, you know, you might see a Buddy when you're on, like, round 15 or round 20. It kind of is a nerf to both tier 2 and tier 3. Because Target Buddy needs to be tier 2 timing to be good. I don't think I like this change. I mean, Buddy's kind of OP. It's by design. It's kind of needs to be a tier 2 item, though. It probably should have been lowered in stats instead of made a tier 3 item. Or maybe like some other swap should have happened. Tier 2s are a lot more pickable now. And also, I mean, Buddy was kind of OP, but it wasn't as OP as like Smuggler. That's a weird change. I mean, Buddy just went from 2, like, yeah, it was fucking stupid. It was OP, but now it's like, I mean, you're gonna be seeing tier 3s on like round 20, round 25. You can't really take it there compared to a lot of options. So it's like it's often just gonna be a brick in your pack, which I don't really like. So I'm not a fan of exactly how they chose to handle Buddy. I think that the Buddy nerf is probably more of like a Reddit response than anything else. Cause like Buddy has been like a very complained about topic, and you know, for good reason. Like, Buddy is the second most OP tier 2 item, and it's pretty game warping. Like, if you get a Buddy on tier 2, you're just really happy. How much do you like Blink on Target Buddy? I don't really. I ran it once and it was funny, and then I ran it a second time and then it wasn't funny that time, and then I stopped running it, basically. How do you feel about Aegis being moved to a tier 3 item? I feel like you'd be in a better spot to pick it among tier 3s. It might literally be better if it was a tier 3 item. That might honestly be a hot take, but it wouldn't really be like too much worse. Because there's like, right now, there's a lot of tier 3 items that are pretty unpickable. That are really, really pretty unpickable. I mean, you can be, more so than ever, you can be staring at a round 20 pack. A round 20 pack after winning the round. Keep in mind, you still have tier 2 odds. You still have some odds of hitting tier 2s. Let's say you hit your 70% on all 3 tier 3 rolls on 20, and you're rewarded with like Assassin's Veil, Target Buddy, Poaching Knife. That's like I mean, and it doesn't have to be those, like Healing Ward, Dawning of Ristal too, as well as like the new Octarine, as well as even Bracers is not great in my opinion. Mechanism isn't good. Tier 3 just feels like very gutted. Like Veil is good. Yeah, I might be underrating Veil, sure. So take Veil off the list. But like, tier 3 does feel pretty brickish, for sure. Embarrassment 5. These are the kind of situations that can definitely empower embarrassment, I think. Target Buddy directly makes people feel cheated, unlike Smuggler, where you can't see it directly. Yeah, no, that's a very good point, and I'm sure that's true. I'm sure that's like why it's nerfed, because Buddy feels more bad. I mean, I can guarantee you Smuggler is like way better than Buddy, but yeah, Smuggler doesn't feel as bad. I mean, not as many people are like pressing tab and seeing like how top players often have Smuggler. But yeah, no, sure. And you know, designing by like what causes your players to get frustrated is really important. Yeah. Okay. So I guess that's just the end of the item changes. And we've got alliance changes. Savage, bonus attack damage down a bit. 4-8-15 to 3-6-12. 6 savages is pretty bad. For sure now. I think they could have made it like, I don't know. Maybe it could have kept that 15. Would that have been too good? I mean, I don't think so. I mean, 6 savages isn't really played, so yeah. Yeah, that's pretty interesting. So savages do get pretty nerfed by this. Venomancer only getting 1 bonus stack and does not gain per tick of that ability. So that's a really, really big change as well. This was what was causing Venomancer to be basically overpowered. Because like per tick of the Venomous scale, it was gaining a savage attack damage stack. And that was what caused Venomancer to do so much damage over everything. Rip auto lock Veno. Yep, savages are a lot worse off of this. I mean, Venomancer, Enchantress, Tusk all get quite a bit worse. The Savage pair early, I think a Savage pair early is solid to play for. Tusk, Ench, Tusk, Veno, if they're 2-starring, they're not bad. But 4 is kind of expensive. Usually you're running like the level 1 Lycan on your board to enable it. And at 6, I just don't see 4 anymore, unfortunately. So yeah, you can pair Savages early. I would clarify, I would say Savages are officially like a weak alliance. Like you can run 2 early, but 4 in the mid game doesn't feel good. Even in like the best scenario, it's like it's all right, you can't do that. And then 6 is just like you just can't really do it. So savages are officially pretty weak. Although, you know, I mean, you play whatever you 2-star early for sure. Early savage will still be good. Yeah, pair of savages for the first 10 rounds is still gonna be solid. It's kind of impossible for a pair of savages to be bad early because they have 3 of the 1 costs are savages, right? So, I mean, anytime you're 2-starring them, you know, that's what's good. For sure. And that's the patch. Embarrassment of Chainmail round 1. So, I think it's probably embarrassment. But I'm less confident about that than I think a lot of people would be. I think a lot of people would look at these changes and say, well, embarrassment round 1 for sure now. And I think it's still in the vicinity of close, but I would take embarrassment on 1 now. Yeah, for sure. I think that's what I would do right now. And maybe if we crunch some numbers and get back to it, I could see going chainmail, but yeah, it just has to be embarrassment now. Yeah, and that's the patch changes. So overall, I think it does a decent job at diversifying the meta. I mean, it feels like going to 9 is a lot more expensive. These 2 lines are like my 2 favorite lines here. It's really just this one. Well, the 5% odds on epics help a lot. It really does. It really does. It's hard to explain. It really is. It's so hard to explain. Like when you're looking at this graph, how big of a difference this 20% being 25 is. It's such a crazy big difference for the meta as a large. Because like when you're going, so think about how it was before. How it was before is you went from 8 to 9 and then you started rolling. And like most players just didn't even roll before they went to 9, right? And in going from 8 to 9, you're almost doubling your tier 4 odds. They're going from 15 to 25. They're increasing by 67%. So you can't really roll before then. And with that 67% increase of these odds, you're getting really good timings at like 2-starring 4 costs. Now suddenly like 2 stars of 4 costs will just happen later. Like they're suddenly risky. You're paying 10 more gold and the 2 stars of 4 costs that need to be bailing you out on the right turns are suddenly not always gonna happen, right? Like, so it, you know, when you look at it now, it's like 15 up to 20. I'm paying 10 extra gold for this, and it's only increasing my odds by 33% instead of 67%. I'm paying more gold for less than half of an odds increase, right? So like the 9 on 21, I think might be dead. Now my ace odds are still tripling up. if I'm playing a build that wants to play an ace like really, really badly or multiple aces. And some people will still try 9 on 21. 9 on 21 might last for a while. Some people will econ for a couple of turns and go 9 on 22, 23. And a lot of people will be going 9 on 26. I think where I land now is 9 on 26. So like 8 on 21, 9 on 26, perhaps. That being said, you still do empower your Underlord a decent amount with that level up. Like their skill is getting a decent amount better. As pulling aces just doesn't help your board state. Yeah, exactly. You need those 2-star tier 4s. Exactly. And like this 5%, it looks so small. But this 5% in conjunction with the extra 10 gold it takes to level up, suddenly it's like you have a win streak. You're jamming the early game. You're jamming druids. You're on round 17. You're doing really, really well. Your streak gets broken because, you know, you kind of low rolled or something. But then you're on round 20 and you're like, okay, I got good economy. 9 on 21. Let's go. You know, I've got decent health. It's not like super great, but let's say I'm at like 60 health. So I jam 9 on 21. I'm down like 10 whole gold, which matters a lot. Like 10 golds is a noticeable difference for sure. And for what? If these tier 4s don't hit on these 20% odds, like keep in mind you need to get 3 of them for it to be an actual unit, right? You need to you can't just get like 1 stars. You need to get 2 stars on your board. If you can't be 2-starring your tier 4 is like 2 turns later, suddenly like you will be dying, right? And the entire reason rushing 9 existed, was because of this 10% gap between 8 and 9, which was pretty ridiculous that existed in that way. The changes are to get the meta back to 3-star, I guess. Well, not necessarily meta back to 3-star, but balance it out, which is good because it was a little like 3 stars out of balance. I legitimately think this is gonna be a big deal. I legitimately do. Like these 2 lines are the biggest thing by far. Not even close. Pretty sure your 2-star, your tier 4 units now 4 or 5 rounds later than before. It's a lot later. I mean, because you can't even be going to 9 on 21, right? So suddenly, like, tier 4 units are, you know, kind of a luxury to T-star. And it's harder to play for those odds. Those rounds are where people die, it's big. Exactly. Even if it's just a couple rounds, even if it's less than 4 or 5 rounds, like, things that happen, like, the difference between a good strategy and a bad strategy is, on average, happening, like, 2 or 3 rounds earlier than another one. Like, 2 or 3 rounds is a really long time. 4 rounds is an entire, like, block from one creep round to another. That's an entire human block. That's 4 rounds. That's, like, that's insane. Like, that's the difference between, like, 7th place and, like, 3rd place, right? Sometimes. Obviously not on average, but, you know, at an extreme. So, yeah, I think when I come back tomorrow, we'll be playing a lot more, like, 3-star kinds of strategies. They didn't really change much in terms of, like, which comps are good. They didn't really change any of the comps, right? The actual, like, whether we're in Knights, whether we're in Assassins, whether we're in Hunters, whether we're in, you know, whatever. Warriors was not really, like, rolling, so they got worse because of, like, the level up, and a lot of Warriors are on tier 4. I mean, anything that's relying on tier 4s heavily got worse. And Aces kind of get a bit worse, too. Incidentally, just because, like, they didn't get directly nerfed, but it's harder to level as aggressively, and tier 4s and aces complement each other, because you need tier 4s to keep you alive until you're getting your aces if you're leveling up, right? Like, that's really important to understand. Like, if tier 4s can't keep me alive, then I can't level for aces as well. So, like, stuff like Arc Warden, you know, Arc Warden's still a very good unit, but when his 2-star odds are hurting and it costs 10 more gold, it's definitely harder to push it in. So what are the comps? I mean, it's Warriors and I was gonna say Warlocks. They have like 2. Warriors are kind of the biggest losers here, right? They have, you know, the Tidehunter and the Kunkka. No longer have Doom. So Warriors do get a bit hurt off of this. It's way riskier to rush levels now. It is. It's so much riskier. It really is. Like if you go for 9 on like before 25, anytime before 25, like 21, 22, 23, suddenly you can just die before your 2-stars get there. That will be happening in your games. And the entire reason that leveling was good was because it was consistent. Savages got hit hard by the odds changes. Yeah, they did. Savages got hit even harder. I kind of like... Savages definitely got over-nerfed. They feel really, really bad. I mean, you can still pair them early, or when you get a bristleback early, you know, maybe you find a bristleback on like round 15 or whatever, you know, play for your pair of savages. But as an alliance, they're just like, they're really hard to do much. They got like, maybe almost unintentionally nerfed from that. Rolling for 3 stars meta equals high variance meta, that's way less fun. Yeah, I think I agree with that. I think at the end of the day, it comes down to balance. You want to be able to... I think you should be able to go for a rolling for 3-star comp when you get a good start for the comp when people aren't on it without feeling bad.